Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to implement Azure functions, and really we're going to work on an Azure app. If you are studying for the AZ 900 exam, this video would be useful to you. We will not get into a lot of nitty-gritty details, but give you enough experience so you will be able to deploy an Azure app and be able to work with it. Now, in this series of videos, I am working on 23 different labs that were created by Microsoft Learning, and all of the labs and lab instructions available on the GitHub. I'll give you the link to this to the labs. And in this particular video, we are working on lab number 8, which is implement Azure functions. Again, to follow the lab with me, you would need a free Azure account. If you do not have one, please go ahead and sign up for a free account from Azure. Once you have that, you'll be able to start the lab. So again, in this lab, we're going to create a function app to display a hello message when there is an HTTP request. So we will send a HTTP request, and the app is going to respond by a hello message. Okay, so in the Azure app, what we'll do, we'll look and search for the resource, and resource name is the function app, and then we're going to create an instance by clicking on the add button, and we are going to configure it the way that the lab is suggesting. Okay, so come over here. This is my Azure instance. I'm already logged in, and just make sure that I don't have any unnecessary resources out there. I wanted to delete this resource group, so let me do this real quick before I start the lab. Okay, so we are ready. So here what we are going to do, we are going to copy the function app from here, and I'm just going to search for function app in the search bar, and look at that. It's the first result back, so I'm going to click on that one. It should take me to the function app resource, and here I do not have any function apps at the moment, so all I need to do is click on add. So this experience would be very similar to any other resource deployment within Azure, and it's giving me this window to configure. So there are a few basic options. So first of all, I always recommend that you create what are the basics. Create a function app which lets you group functions as logical unit for easier management, deployment, and sharing of resources. Functions list lets you execute your code in a serverless environment without having to first create a VM to or publish a web application. So that's what is your introduction to serverless computing within Azure. So function apps, is there no server? That the answer is yes, there is a server, but it's not. You don't have to manage that one. So you are only responsible for the code for that you're gonna place within the functions, and Azure will take care of everything else. All the compute, the memory, everything else will be handled by Azure. Okay, so here let's go back over here, and you need to select a subscription, and we're going to create a new resource group, my RG functions. Let's copy that one, come over here, create new, and paste the name, say okay. So we got the resource group, and we need to have a resource group name, and that's a required field, has to be unique. So come back over here, copy this, come back over here, paste it, and try 8080, and this is available. So I have the green tick mark, and now you can publish your function app as a code. If you're developing your solution, you can publish it as a Docker container if you like. And so let's see what they are asking. They're asking us to publish it as a code and to use the .NET Core runtime stack. So here, just click on the .NET, and the default 3.1 version is okay. Region you can select. Here in the lab they are recommending EastUS, so let's try and see if we can find EastUS, and there's my EastUS, and should be good. And next you need to go to hosting. So for the hosting, Let's see if they have anything specific. Here they're saying click the review and create, and so they're saying you don't need to do any more configuration, but let's look at what else you can do. So here on the hosting storage, when you create a function app, you must create or link a general purpose Azure storage account that supports blobs, queue, and table storage. So if you do not have any, if you have one, so you can click on that one. So if you have any, you can select the storage, or it's going to create a storage for you. Now, operating system, you can either use Linux or Windows. Here, based on the runtime stack, Microsoft is recommending here go with the Windows type server operating system for hosting your application, which is fine. And here, plan type, here you have different plan types, and here if you click on it, here it's not, there is no there is a premium, app service plan, and consumption. So if you read that icon, select consumption for dynamic scaling and on-demand execution, premium for advanced features and better control over dynamic scaling, app service plan for on-demand execution. Okay, so for the exam, I would say that for the function app, review those options just a little bit. And to do that, you should click on that learn more link over here. It should take you to the Azure documentation. And here it should have a good big description of Azure functions, scale, and hosting. And you should know at least a little bit about the consumption plan, premium plan, and a dedicated app service plan, the differences, and how your function app is scaled, the resources available to each function app instance, and support for additional features such as Azure Virtual Network Connectivity. So definitely I would recommend that you read through these three and kind of just look at the app function time of duration for what's allowed, what is not allowed, and that should be enough for the 900 exam. Okay, so let's go back over here and see if we need to configure anything else. So this, for this particular lab, we're going to use the consumption serverless option. Let's go to monitoring. Monitoring, enable application insights, yes, and application insights is it will be enabled for this function that we're going to create. Go to tags. Tags, I recommend always that you use tag to properly identify your assets. Since this is a lab that we will not be using in a production environment, I am not assigning any tags. I can click on the review and create button now, and that should give me the function app that where we can start adding my functions and start integrating with other services. So now it's going through the validation phase, and once that's done, you can just quickly review what you have before you deploy. Here's the subscription ID, resource group, name of your function, and runtime stack. And here's the storage account. It will be created for the whole function app to work. And just hit on create, and it should start the deployment of this particular resource. You can look at it over here, and this page will change momentarily, and it will give you a more detailed view of what is going on. It just changed, and this is the view that I was talking about. And it will create all the dependent resources first, and then it will have your function app available to you momentarily. Okay, it doesn't really take too long to deploy the function app. And while this is going on, let it go and come back over here. Let's see what else do we need. Okay, so we are pretty much done with the function app. As soon as our deployment is successful, will be done. Our next goal would be in the function app. Okay, we are going to use the web hook plus API function to display a message when there is an HTTP request. Okay, so let's just not get too much ahead of ourselves. Let's make sure the deployment is completed. It's still going, so just wait for a couple more seconds and it should be done. But if you can kind of look at here, it's done now. So let's just go to the resource. And how do you know that's a function app? First of all, that icon right there is unique for function apps, and also under the instance name, you have the function app. It clearly states. Okay, so over here, you can review quickly that it's running. It's in the west. It's in the east US. It's using Windows operating system. Here's the app service plan. Some properties, runtime version. To start with the functions, you really need to go here under functions on the left hand side, click on functions, and what you need to do, you will start by adding a function to use under the function app. Okay, so let's come back over here. So we are kind of there already. We clicked on the on the add button. So here we are going to use one of the templates. There are a whole bunch of templates available. HTTP trigger, timer trigger. We are going to work with the HTTP trigger in this particular lab. So come back over here and let's see, select a template. Okay, here's my HTTP trigger, timer trigger, Azure blobs, all bunch of, and one thing you notice that this view select template, it has changed. If you look at the lab, previously it used to look like this. You have nice little blocks with a little bit of icon in there. That view has changed and now it looks like a table, and probably they have so many now added in this list that blocks probably would was taking more space. So in this lab we're going to use the HTTP trigger. An HTTP trigger is a function that will be used whenever it retrieves an HTTP request, responding based on data in the body or the query string. So you can add that one. So it should be adding my HTTP trigger 1. Okay, so let's see what happens. Let's go back. In the details tab, accept the new function name and authorization level and click create. So let's come back over here. So it really created everything, so I don't even have to do anything. It just created everything for me. It's And I have got a little bit of details about the app and the trigger. Let's see what do we need to do next. Okay, so this portion template details we didn't have to do. Okay, so if you don't see this little thing when you are doing this lab, it's okay. On the HTTP trigger one blade in the developer section, click code and text. So that's the main thing where you need to go and test your code. So if you look over here as well, here the test and code, that's all. That's the most important part of the trigger. So that's where it comes with a sample code automatically. And what we will do, here is your sample code. Okay, and we can modify that code based on what we have here. So what they're saying, review the auto-generated code and note that code is designed to run an HTTP request. So here a couple things. Here is your get function URL and that the public static async. Here is the run method. It's gonna get HTTP request as request and it's gonna log something and it's gonna return hello and name. So the name parameter, if you provide it in your HTTP request, it will print this. A new bad request, if you don't provide a name, then you will get this particular message. Okay, so what we will do, we'll click on the get function URL from the top section. So over here, go back. So in here, get function URL, so we copied that one. Okay, so copy to clipboard. So we have copied that one. So let's come back over here. Ensure that the value in the key drop down drop list is set to default and click copy to copy the function URL. Alright, so we got that one, and then the next thing that you need to do is append and name. That's how you pass parameters or values with your HTTP request. So let's come back over here, and here let's paste this, and in this one, okay, if I just append that with end name, so what we'll do, end name at the very end, we will have to enter this, and name is, and then I'll put my name. So let's copy this one, copy, and over here at the very end, go to the very end, and then paste and name, and I'll say Bob. Okay, and then I hit enter. Okay, so what you just got back? It says, hello Bob, this is HTTP triggered function executed successfully. So that's about it. That's the simplest way of running your function app. So when your function app runs, every invocation is traced. So HTTP trigger plus cloud blade and click on the monitor. So what you can do, so we already know that this code is now working. If you place a name, a function app is returning this message back to the browser. So from over here, if you go to the monitor, okay, you should see at least the log for this particular trigger that we had. So let's see, invocation and log, just give it a second. Logs maybe, it says just connected, and at this time let's do that one more time. So let's come back, Bob, let's change that to Mary and hit enter. Now you see this one has changed to hello Mary, and let's come back over here, and over here it's now telling you that that was succeeded. There was HTTP trigger and it's processed properly. Okay, so let's come back over here. When you function app run, so we are looking at this one, and invocation and logs, success count 2. So this success count, it may take just a little bit of time to show up. It's still showing like a 0, but we know that we already have um, twice that this invocation was successful. So refresh it a couple times, and then come back, and you should see that this invocation, this count will start to go up as you have more and more calls that from the HTTP trigger that you are performing. Okay, so again, come back over here and just give it a little bit of time. Okay, results may be delayed for up to 5 minutes. So in the lab, I'm not going to wait for 5 minutes, but just for you, just note that if you see 0 and not the number of triggers that you have performed, it's okay. Just give it a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of time to populate this count, and that's about it. So that is the simplest way to create a function app. So here uh, you can do lots of different things, and you can think innovative ways to use the functions. So this is the simplest way to create a trigger. You can do other things with function app as well. So what I would suggest, you come back over here, okay, go to your function app, and here start adding some more triggers. Okay, that is going beyond the lab. So HTTP trigger is responding to a particular event. So until you send a request, your function app will not be responding. You can keep you can also do a timer trigger, and a timer trigger doesn't matter whether there is a HTTP request. If I can do it like every an hour, I want to do something. So just click and create a timer trigger. So it's creating the timer trigger function now. Okay, it will behave very similar to the HTTP trigger. Again, you can go to the code and test, and hopefully you will see some sample code even in this one. And in this one, it just says log timer trigger function execute at date and time. So here, what you can do a test and run, and just do run over here. It's just connecting, and Azure2 accepted, and it's now connected, and that's about it. That's the output. HTTP response code, you are getting the 2 to accepted. Okay, same thing, you can go to the monitor, and it should tell you the number of times this success count. Again, 5 minutes is your wait time. So what I'll do some more triggers, keep adding some more triggers and play with it, and play with some innovative ideas with these different type of triggers. Like If you add and configure as your queue storage trigger, maybe you want to learn when there's a new queue is added. So you can do that. You can do blob storage. If you're uploading a file to a blob, you want to be notified, you can configure that with the function app. Event hub integration, Cosmos DB trigger, IoT hub. If there is a new message in the IoT, you send grid integration. So event grid trigger, durable function HTTP starter. So what I would recommend for the 900 exam, just create uh, some triggers and play with it, and just kind of have a overall understanding of what a function app can do for you. All right, I think that's all we needed to do for this particular lab. Okay, at this lab, if you are not going to use this function app for very long, I would recommend that you delete the resource group so you are not getting charged for the particular app that we created in this lab. So before we finish, let's just go there. Since we are done with the lab, we'll go to the resource group, and we're going to go to the resource group that we have created. We're going to copy the resource group. Okay, copy, and then I'll say delete the resource group. Come over here, now paste, and the delete button is now available, and I'll hit the delete button, and that will delete the resource group and all the resources inside this resource group. Okay, so if you like this video, please give me a like, click on the like button, subscribe, please click on the bell so you get all the notifications. If you have any comments, please leave your comment so that I can improve the videos that I'm doing. If you're really studying for the AZ 900 exam, it's an entry level exam. Uh, Good luck with the exam, and again, thanks for watching, and have a great day.